Welcome to Deep Look. Oh, wait. Wrong thing. Welcome to another Ultiworld Send It Back. Charlie Eisenhood and Keith Raynor here with you to watch all 6 of the indoor World Ultimate Club Championship semifinals. Looking forward to this one. Hello, everybody. Keith, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm glad to finally get a chance to be on Ultiworld. It's been a lifelong dream of mine to get a chance to be featured, so to be a guest is really exciting for me. And we get a 6-pack. Sure, it's just a tiny sip of each game, but like it's the best part.
That's right. So we're not going to watch the outdoor components of any of these games, but we are going to get a chance to watch all of the 20-minute conclusions inside. And we got a lot of, since we have 6 games, I kind of want to get us going. And we can kind of talk about some of the lead up to all of this crazy atmosphere and everything as we go into things. But suffice it to say, the beginnings of all of these games were played outdoors before basically heavy thunderstorms came in and disrupted the tournament for an hour and then 2 hours and then 3 hours. And then it was like, well, it looks like the day is done. And we were headed home. I don't know if you remember, Keith, but we were headed home to basically just like try to write about what happened that day. And I got a phone call from somebody at WFDF. I think it was Tim Rockwood, who's like the media manager for WFDF. And he said, we're going to try to hold the rest of the games inside in a soccer complex. I need you to go to this address. So we go there, and over the next like 3 hours, figure out not only did they get the whole thing rescheduled, but we figured out a way to actually live stream these games. And you'll see that the quality is of suspect nature, but we got them in.
It was truly an environment unlike any other that I've certainly been in. You can see already you're in this indoor area, and I mean, if you haven't already seen this or weren't there, you're about to get a sense of just how packed it is when you see the sidelines as we pull back, because you can see the sidelines were full, and if you're indoors, the sound's bouncing off the walls. It just felt like a really pressure-packed area for these big games, which is not something that I think players and fans or media are really accustomed to.
So Revolver and Yellow had just scored a goal before we got the stream up, and now Goat has the disc in the blacks. And I just want to turn up the commentary a little bit so you can hear how energetic the environment was.
Now it's 11-6, but just like that, Goat finds its rhythm offensively. Nathan Hurst, as quick as he is on grass, maybe even faster indoors, it's 11-7.
So Evan Lepler is like so jacked up because they're basically just sitting on the sideline, like kind of near where this camera angle is. And it's so loud inside from all of the players that you can see along the back wall. It was pretty amazing.
Go with a quick score, which is like exactly what they need to start. They're coming out in this hole with nothing to lose. Amusingly, as the anecdote's been shared, they had, thinking that the day was done, already started drinking. They went out to dinner to finish off their day before they knew they were going to be playing. So maybe of all teams, they were the ones that most had to like flip the switch really quickly. And their coach, Saturday, noted that they were going to warm up for longer than they were going to play. So it's a weird space, but they came out with nothing to lose, and a quick score is exactly what they needed.
So just a reminder what the format was. It was every game starts back up and has 20 minutes of game time. And that was it. So you can see the clock running right now, 12 and a half minutes to go. And it just, like, the energy in the place was unbelievable. Some of the little video hiccups you're seeing are going to work themselves out as we got the stream all squared away. But Revolver, obviously, with a substantial lead. But it's a break chance for Goat.
And it's remarkable that you guys even managed to get it set up at all, let alone this was pulled off within a couple of hours. Getting exactly. I mean, this was pretty thrilling at the time because like this looked like a blowout, and this suddenly made you feel like they had a chance. Goat scores twice really quickly to get it started, and you're like, wow, maybe the dome's gonna be in GOAT's advantage. You know, the Canadians, they play inside all the
They
time.
play a lot of indoor up there in Toronto.
And they're fast. The turf speed is real, and GOAT's a fast team as is.
That 15-12 win, they took care of business against Chalk in the quarterfinals.
But remember, this is still when Revolver was seen as the preeminent team in the world.
The last 2 times,
As Evan just said, won it twice in a row. Another turnover.
Davis, but a foul called.
Charlie, I don't know. I'm not hearing any commentary. I love it.
Oh, let me get it in your ears.
No contest.
There we
On
go.
the flip
Right here.
side, Vasiliev gives it back to Friedman.
This, I will say, the commentary team at Worlds did an excellent job, and they really jumped in with both feet for this crazy evening. There's like a rotating commentary crew, and I think they mostly did a really excellent job.
But he hadn't spent too much time.
Yeah, I mean, you'll notice some
warming up,
stuff
no more
like
than 15 minutes or so.
the camera colors are terrible because
Friedman drops the hammer. Davis, the clean clap catch.
beautiful throw from Eli
Revolver's
Friedman.
at 12.
They take advantage of that still indoor air.
We had no chance to get our cameras tuned up because everything was just like sprinting to get a stream up at all. So like I like called a company to get us a lift about 5 minutes before they closed for the weekend.
To the end zone.
What a grab.
Bid and grab. Eli Kearns delivers in front of the fans on this historic
The
night.
first like really hype play of the evening, the first of many, and that it was like a match of kindling. You know, it's just like starting to get the place really lit up.
And look at all the people in the background.
Yeah, the tentative
Like this,
schedule
people started getting kicked out
has
because
Colony
there were too many people
double-wide
for the fire
coming
code.
up at 7 o'clock.
And remember, you
the
can hit us up
reports-
in the YouTube chat, and we can hear what you have to say.
Supposedly, I'd say it was probably around 900 people or so, but I've heard reports from 1,500 to 2,000. Well past whatever the fire code was. So we were probably fortunate not to get in more trouble.
Harris fires. Quinn shows the speed, creating the separation, but just shy of the goal line.
Evan with so much
Nice
energy.
deep shot. I mean, I don't know how Revolver's given up such quick strikes. It's like the one thing you don't want to be doing in this situation.
Isaiah throws it high, and McKenzie rises to meet it.
Mike McKenzie.
But they got a pretty big cushion. You know?
Mike McKenzie might be the most exciting, like, up and coming. Maybe he's not up and coming anymore, but like the next generation of Canadian stars.
Crazy play there. Don't know if Mazzucchelli needed to throw it.
I mean, insert obligatory Mike McKenzie here comment.
2014 of the USCU National Championships in the quarterfinal.
That was a historic game.
But that big layout from Eli Kearns kind of put this game out of reach. I mean, you see there's only 5 minutes left. Like, you had to get it close.
It was interesting. It was interesting to watch teams have to navigate this clock environment.
And Simon Higgins elevates.
There's Simon Higgins doing what he does best. But you know, you're in this like fast track environment. Although there's a lot of you're going to see a lot of slipping. There's some blown tires throughout the evening, and as teams lose traction on the turf. I mean, was the field full size? It feels like it was a little small, but I don't know that for sure.
You know, I don't remember. I think it was a little small. Tim Schock wrote
I mean,
a
it's a
great article
Porterfield,
about this
so-
whole thing. So if you go to Ultiworld and you check out Tim Schock's article about this whole experience, Plan Q, I think is the name of the article, was talking about how this all came together, and how quickly it came together. It's pretty amazing that we were able to get these games in.
There was also like concern about the disc hitting the roof and the beams from the ceiling.
Another perfect huck from Goat.
I mean, it's no wonder that this was the game that gets to 15. I mean, everybody scored in 4 throws.
I'm pretty sure that shot was going up to Mazzucchelli, but Burrell overtaking everyone.
Liam, I was joking with members of
Do that. We think it's a better way of hawking when you have no wind like this.
How about this brutal scoreboard we have?
Knocked down by Joel Schlockett. Centers to Jordan Marcy.
I don't hate it.
Down at 2.5
Too big.
minutes remaining on the clock. Never in a whiff-diff event has the clock meant so much.
There's like teams where there's one other small field in this building, so teams are warming up on the other side. Like it's a very even smaller environment, so you're like condensed with your opposition to like half of a mini field to do your warm-ups in. And then there's like this hallway where there's gear and there's bodies. I mean, it was just a packed place.
Revolver had many players had their cleats like in the fridge and freezer because they thought they were done, and they were trying to get the stink off their cleats, and instead they had to like put on these ice cold cleats and come out and win this game.
That was just such a Joel Schlockett moment. Just Johnny on the spot, somehow always the right place to score the goal in particular. I don't know if there's ever been a player who wasn't like a deep receiver who has a higher percentage of their touches that are in the end zone.
It's unbelievable, honestly. Like probably like one of the best pure goal scorers of the entire generation.
Just a finisher, just a guy who finishes the play.
14th goal, the top scorer for this Revolver team, the end zone tyrant.
So after GOAT gets the break, you think, well, maybe. But Revolver breaking right back, put this one away pretty quickly. I think they scored a combined 10 goals in the 20 minutes. And to be clear, like there was full time between points. So we have those cut out for the broadcast here, but it's pretty amazing. Like that's what you can get in indoor ultimate, right? It's just like exceptional goal scoring.
There's some talk in the chat about this hitting the roof. In general, I believe that the consensus was reached that it's going to go back to the thrower if it's in play, and if it's a pull, it would count like it's out of bounds. There is, I think, one pull that actually the rule comes into play. I don't think it comes up on any throws, if memory serves, but.
Pretty nice run for GOAT to get to semis, I thought. They were a little outmatched by Revolver, but
they're just such a mercurial team, you know. It's like,
yeah,
and I think it's because of a lack of depth. Like their top end players are always quite good, and they're streaky. I don't know if it's about the way they prepare or playing in 2 seasons sometimes, or the composition of the attitude of the team. I don't know, but they just feel like a team that's always capable of really high highs and then really mediocre lows.
Yeah, I mean, I think they played well throughout this tournament, and just, you know, just weren't as good as Revolver. I mean, I wonder how many times GOAT's even beaten Revolver. They obviously have the one epic win in quarters at USAU Nationals, but I don't know if they've ever beat him other than that, like in a meaningful big game.
Very few teams have. It's a short list.
All right, so double wide Colony coming up. This is Colony with Jimmy Mickle and Chris Kocher joining the Australians. And a closer game here.
And back when Kirk Gibson was with double wide.
In Cincinnati, in the wall-to-wall soccer center.
Tom Stiles taking over on commentary.
An indoor semi-final as double wide take the disc.
Joined by Ian Toner,
The
I
Colony
believe.
defense arrive, storming down this turf field.
And we've seen this junk from
And Colony coming out with the junk, I think this is a strategy that they're afforded by the time. You know, they have the lead, might as well make the points long. Also against a super athletic team that would be happy to chuck it against you. But unlike Revolver, they're like, we're not going to give up a quick score. Let's take them out of whatever deep pull play they want to start with and try and make them work for it a little bit. Even if throwing over the top would be really easy in this environment.
They've transitioned to matchup now.
Yeah, I don't think that's the kind of zone look they're like, oh, let's stick with this so that we can swap up the offense. We just want to avoid the quick score.
just inside the end zone. It's a score for double wide. They're back within one, 7-6 the score.
Bit of a dicey bid, perhaps, but Jay Faroud, I feel like this is like part of his coming out party. Really was like establishing himself as an elite cutter. It was like a year-long process, and this was kind of the capstone of that. Was his performance at the World Championships.
And just a great job by Kurt Gibson there to open the door for that flick huck. It was flat mark from Colony, and he just does a little shimmy and easy wide open throw.
That was, Tom. You weren't wearing your iconic hat. I had to wave the hat in the air just to make myself known. Tullet.
Colony was like the biggest story coming into the tournament. The men's division was like, what would Colony look like with Mikkel and Kocher, who were not just like ringers picking up for this team. They were practicing with, and they played like the Australian season with this team. They went the full mile to integrate themselves in a Colony for one season with the goal of winning this World Championship. And this Colony team was a semifinals team before that without them.
And this is, you know, after Kocher had made the World Games team for the Team USA, and this is the best I've ever seen Mikkel this season. This plus his year with Pony winning the USAU championship, but just like he looked like a different person after coming back from Australia.
Double wide's run to the USA Ultimate Club Championship final last season.
Just in incredible
Collins
shape.
really locked up right now.
Little steps. Evans again, lots of little steps, not wanting to do a big stop. The grip isn't available. Both teams having to adjust. The around shot to Ely.
Yeah, a lot of standing in the stack right now.
Simply to reset the disc. They've barely gained any.
Cutters just look kind of unsure of who should be going and when and where.
Back to Mikkel. Mikkel's going to have to work hard to get this. He bids, he grabs. What an incredible play from Jimmy Mikkel just to keep the disc alive. Tullet now.
That's huge for them to get that save. Like if they go on and score this point.
The surface out here is plastic. Evans sends it deep to Kocher.
Well, I remember this because this is one of the most dramatic moments I think of the evening.
That's right.
There was this foul call was much discussed on the sidelines. A lot of visceral reactions on behalf of double wide.
We get another look. Dalton Smith is incensed on the sideline, yelling, "That's soft."
Did he? Wow.
I don't see
a foul.
Kocher's
I'm gonna be honest.
saying he gets hit on like the forearm here, and I just don't know that I see it. It seems like double wide's got the better position there.
Let's see if we get one more replay here.
Discussing things with Chris Kocher. It's contested. It's going to get sent back. Scrolling back up.
I want to take one more look at it. Let me back it up. Let's take a one more look
Yeah,
at the
can you
replay
slow
here.
it down for us?
I can pause it. I don't know if I can fully slow it down.
We get another look.
Joe Mama asking what do they do for halftimes. Pretty much everybody just played through. They switched sides and played through.
So take a look. No contact yet, right? Maybe Kocher with the left arm little kind of bracing. I mean, there's a little bump maybe with Dalton Smith's right arm there.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of contact, but like he's already making contact with the disc. Like,
right.
On the sideline.
I don't know. This feels like a bailout, if any, at best. I'm not sure who the defender is because those black numbers on red jerseys are unreadable in this lighting. That'll come back up again when Riot plays.
Lots of fans, spectators in the hall.
Look at all the fans. This was truly unreal, and like the broadcast doesn't make clear just how loud it was in here.
Shepard darting into the end zone. Now makes the away cut, leaving space down the channel. Mikkel looking for the reset around.
I think this is that was also one of the first of
goes to the ground and,
a kind of weird situation you get into, which is they're not quite in it yet because there's enough time on the clock and this game is close. But teams trying to make a comeback are like incentivized to not make calls.
Throws the fake, throws across the end zone.
The fakes out the camera.
The reception in the far corner.
That was basically like a play action. Tom Tullett looked like he caught it and everything.
2-point lead. Well, as this tournament
Fantastic.
goes on, I see.
But yeah, like I was saying, I think that you get this weird situation where the team that's leading is kind of incentivized to slow down the game, and the team that's not is incentivized to resolve calls really quickly, which may lead to them not even trying to make calls or not contesting and stuff like that. It's a weird setup.
Yeah, that play for Mikkel to save this disc right here, that's so huge, because if he doesn't make that catch, that's a 5-yard dink for double wide to tie the game. And that just completely changes everything about how it, like how Colony is feeling. We just saw their offense struggle to score that point. But yeah, that's Mikkel.
All the play working through those star Colony players. Tullet, Mikkel.
You wonder if it flashes through his mind. He's like, they're making me carry them, aren't they?
Making himself available at the back of the stack in the end zone. The teams have switched now. It's half.
Oh, right. It's halftime technically now. So you said it, Keith. They switch sides and, like, do the mirror pull and everything. But nobody took a break.
With a vital offensive point coming out. Time on the clock is just 12 and a half minutes remaining. And that disc lands out of bounds. Inexcusable with no.
Do you hear Tom Styles says inexcusable to pull out of bounds indoors, which is brutal and probably fair.
I wonder how much that pull was compromised by the ceiling and the roof beams. The puller afraid to let loose at peak altitude. Gibson.
I do think, kind of to go to what Ian was just saying, I do think it's reasonable to think that it felt condensed on the field. Like, the field probably felt small because of the walls and because of how close the sideline, like, people were to the sideline. Like, it's still like a full width field, but I can imagine it felt very tight.
And his foot was on the line.
I actually want, going back to that foul, because the chat's still talking about it. Caitlin Harris actually raises a really good point that by whiff diff standards, that feels like a foul.
If there's contact,
USAU is a little more gray, but whiff diff, I feel like it's pretty clearly a foul under their guidelines.
I mean, if Dalton Smith's right arm was bumping up against Kocher's, like, the arm that was up in the air to make the reception, that's definitely a callable foul on whiff diff.
Quickly. I think both teams wanting to see this game.
Also, Garrett asks, who's the guy in white tights who was guarding Mikkel? That's Kaplan Moore. He this year, I mean, I think they mentioned in the commentary, he had won the previous year for double wide the Defensive Player of the Year award for Ultiworld, and now he's kind of turned into like a multifaceted player. He was like one of the statistical offensive leaders for double wide this past season. He's kind of an up-and-coming name. Keep an eye out on him. He's got a lot of talent. Kaplan Moore.
Discussing the potential of stopping.
I remember this too. Double wide, a little annoyed by the injury stoppage here.
Yeah, the clock
like they're trying to be
situation.
nice about it, but they're also like a little nervous that time is dripping away.
Halfway through.
Need to have injury time in Ultimate.
20-minute game.
I mean, there's not a lot of situations quite like this one. Colony goes back to the junk. I think really just don't want to make sure they don't give up a quick hug.
Very easy to build up speed on this rubber surface, but taking it off again has proved problematic for all the players.
And still in the junk.
Perfectly content to sit in this junk defense that makes the double
There's Matt Bennett.
second guess their thoughts and eat more
A
clock.
blade, or as seems like the European commentators call it, a knife, which kind of works well with a hammer and a knife.
Speed of the defense,
Oh.
block, high grab, couldn't contain it, and Colony punched the air.
It would have
Rob
been so
Andrews from
sick.
Colony.
That knife to the back of the end zone almost pulled off perfectly, but just enough backward lean, a high hand reaches, and double wide couldn't contain it.
Brutal.
Matt Bennett will be the first to tell you that he's a questionable decision maker. And that quick blade, while a quick
You
blade is
cannot
an
give up a
option,
break here if you're double wide to a
not the
Mikkel and
optimal
Contra
against
list.
this Colony
Colony.
zone, especially
You
in
just
the red
can't.
zone.
Colony struggling.
You see players again slipping.
Bailout shot goes right across the field. Wasn't the optimal pass. They ran out of time on that throw. And now double wide. Colony not able to set their defense.
Double wide
Winning the
really
one-on-one matchup.
scattered on
Looking a
offense
little
here
bit
in
loose and
transition.
chaotic out there as well. Double wide, can they capitalize on the space given to them from the Sydney team? Running across and a high grab. What great form, kept the eyes on the disc the whole way. Jay Frood with the layout and the assist.
Clean
into the
throw
front
from
of the
Frood
end
there.
zone. And double wide back within 1-8-7.
Frood with the like chest high layout. It didn't feel like he quite had to get that high. He just is that explosive. And Charlie's like, oh, nice forehand with the open side.
Well, yeah, maybe I take it for granted. That, by the way, that's Frood to Gibson after Gibson to Frood earlier. It's just like to be able to make that layout and then throw that nice clean flick. That's a skill that like actually takes practice. It's easy for the guys at this level, but super easy to be like excited about a play like that and then throw a bad throw there. So under 8 minutes to go here.
Up the middle, Tullett distributing to the sideline. Abra Garfield floats to Evans. Evans slows the cut steadily with multiple short steps, wanting to take the pace off.
So that's more right there.
Incredible
with
dive from
another one of the big like highlight plays of the night that really got the crowd going.
Did he just do like a denied thing too?
Tullett comes through the back.
Did he?
I think he might have.
Again, the target and involved.
A great play.
Goes down the line to block that. There's a hand in the air on the far side of the field. Pick in the centre.
I guess we'll get another look.
With 6.5, a foul called, uncontested. It's coming back in on one. Hammer to the far side.
Thrower kind of hanging to Tom Tullett out to drive there. Mark Evans, I think, who's one of the best throwers on this Colony team. A little too casual.
Yep.
Give me a full pivot and deliver the disc, please.
And we have ourselves a game in front of this crowd in the soccer stadium.
So there it is, tie game.
I mean, I remember at this point thinking, oh my God, double wide might beat them. Like this felt like if there was going to be a turning point, it's right here, right?
I mean, I know you're right, that's a bit of a lazy throw, but that's also an unbelievable block from Kaplan.
It's a great block, but the problem is that the thrower chooses to try and get off a quick release, and you can see it's like popping up in the air.
I'm not trying to make excuses for it, but it's just like 95% of the time you still get a completion there. It's just like that's a great defensive play.
I agree but you're giving the defender a chance to make a play.
It's true.
That's true. That's all. Tom Tullett is in here.
Is he in the chat? He sure is.
There is a Tom Tullett in the chat.
All right.
I mean, don't get it. I'm not trying to do the block. The block is fantastic.
Maybe he can give his thoughts on the play there.
I'd say there's probably.
I don't think he's going to send Mark Evans.
It was a horrible throw from Mark.
All along the far sideline and in both of the end zones either side of our camera tower. Mickle for Colony.
Also, there's some talk about. I mentioned that double. I was a little worried about the injury. I don't think they felt like the player was faking it. I just think they were worried about the time. So that there was like a weird tension where they're like, "Oh, we want the guy to be okay, but we also don't want the stoppage to extend." But
so another interesting foul call here.
Colliding. Just struggling to see the number on the player. He collided.
Not a great decision for Mickle, I don't think.
It looked like.
So this is the defender calling a foul, saying he like couldn't get off the ground. There's a player on his back?
Yeah, I think that's the idea there. But maybe they took it back. Yep. I mean, he was kind of running backwards and like ran into an opponent who had position on him, so probably a good retraction there.
I think if you go back, you will see that I think 3 different double wide defenders get beat deep for this hook, and so like I don't know if he even deserved it at that point.
So watch the foul call here. I mean, you can see like it looks like maybe got a little hand on his shoulder there.
Cleanly taking the disc high in the air.
Fans like behind the glass back there too.
Mickle moving to Sydney and playing with this team throughout the Australian season. Travelling across And another junk look here from Colony with Minkle anchoring the top at the deep.
3 minutes on the clock. Time is running out.
This is one of the couple of crossover points that Colony has for Minkle. They actually did not cross him over a lot during this tournament. I don't really think they had to. Even in the final, I think he and Kocher would cross over. Maybe each of them would cross over one of every few points or so.
Yeah, I mean,
Often staggered.
you don't really want to have Mickle out there on D points, but you also really want to have him for offense if you get the disc. So, like, I definitely understand it from Colony here. Like, you figure if you get a break, it's over. So, you want to have your best
Their
offensive
deal on
players on the
offense has
field.
not looked particularly
No.
healthy so far. Not in form. Alex Latamatos really trying out there.
Started straight away. Gibson taps in. Looking for a cut up the line. Looking for a cut anywhere.
Stall getting high here.
Offense.
It's just a sick throw from Kurt.
No, just it's like he planned it the whole time.
Accurate.
I wonder if he got away with the travel, but
It was straight up and down in.
Talk about
His body language screamed panic, but the throw looked like he was in just complete control.
perfect throw. All right, does he get away with the travel? Let's watch.
But again, by the same coin.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, he
No,
moves his pivot a little bit, but the
definitely
throw
lifts his
itself.
foot before he
Can
throws.
complete that throw. Two sides to the coin of choosing to force that way.
I feel like r/ultimate right now.
Captain Tom.
Yeah, a little too nitpicky on it.
Chris Kocher.
Everything's a travel if you try hard enough, you know?
Gavin Moore and the other captain, Mark Evans, looking down at double wide. We see
9-9.
Maurer,
I'm pretty sure. So when the clock runs out, you finish the point, and then it's over, unless it's tied.
That is the case.
Seconds to go. The team that
So not really double wide doesn't. Colony doesn't have to rush here.
against Revolver
Either team is. Both teams just want to score.
with the reception from Tullett.
I mean, I guess if you're Colony, maybe you're like, we want to have the last shot, so to speak.
A lot of work to do yet. Evans.
Once the horn goes off, we'll try and score. I don't know.
Downfield as a fast cut from Shepherd, but now he's going to have to come back underneath.
I think he just tried to score.
Contact.
I don't think you can think that far ahead.
Two game theory here in a game that's 9-9, and you think you can just win straight up.
About 20 seconds. And that means that this point, as you predicted, Tom, is double.
Tom Tullett, by the way, said real good block in the chat. Just to come back to that, which legit.
WFDF 2018 World Ultimate Club Championships Men's Division semi-final. Down to this last point as Jimmy Mickle comes across. Slice downfield to McNaughton. Kocher on the sideline.
It's just so much tension in this environment right now.
Tullett. More cutting up the line. Tullett slices
Nice little break.
And Colony are in the final
Really,
of the WFDF 2018 World
doesn't require a big play to finish it off. You just got to execute the little things
double
well.
wide. They've done it by 10-9 in the most remarkable of circumstances.
Just
I think this might have been the game we were streaming before the thunderstorms. This is a
Yes,
good game.
I do think that we had this game.
Good game in the first half too.
Seizing them, taking advantage of the close, aggressive, tight double wide marks. And Colony, the 4 seed. Their championship hopes live on.
So Colony headed to the final.
For World Ultimate as well, that we don't have an all-American.
And we'll get the showdown I think we kind of wanted, which was Colony and Mickle and Kocher versus Revolver in the final.
And how are this team from Sydney going to be facing over?
Maybe the next send it back. Maybe we'll do theirs.
Yeah, do the finals.
Revolver side.
Well, it's no secret that
I don't know if we all three. It's a little different when it's 3 full-length games, my guy.
That's fair.
and be the talent from top to bottom.
But hey, you know, I like hanging out with you. I do it every week.
That's true.
I think Colony are going to give.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to knock double wide here. I mean,
match, at least for the first half.
they played good
Their
defense.
offense has settled
Colony
down.
had to grind
The question
out
will
their
be
O
how
points.
well their O-line defense can play.
And double wide got the
if
one
and
break.
after they turn the disc over.
They just didn't do enough before the
Colony
before the
team giving
stoppage.
the applause to the fans.
thousands of spectators crammed into
They definitely had a real shot.
Center,
So it's hard to say that like they didn't get a fair shake. They had a real chance to win this game in both halves.
Definitely.
You know,
making this one of the most special experiences any of these players or spectators will consume in their ultimate careers, in their ultimate lives. The acoustics are incredible.
Have you with us for this game? Action will continue on.
So that's, I mean, that was an
like,
exciting one. But now we're here for the what I think was the most exciting of all. Certainly the biggest play of the night coming up here in a little bit.
well, wait. Do you remember how this one starts, Charlie?
You know, I honestly don't.
Don't spoil it for him, chat. If you know how this game opens, please do not spoil it, because it's a fun way to start the game. Revo just has this following. Just people love this freaking team. They're fun to watch. They dance a lot. I mean, they really just have a way about them that's magnetic, I think.
If you can try to put
The pinks versus the blues with like lime green. A rare color matchup.
Bag of Skittles out here, but I'll always take the jersey I can read, whose numbers I can read. As a commentator, that's all I want, is to be able to read the numbers.
I'm kind of excited to watch this again because I want to see how good Elizabeth Mosqueda is in this game and in this. I do remember this now.
I mean, unbelievable. Just like
and from Synchrope, like one of the best
the
players.
most veteran player on the field. Well, at least on Brute Squad.
Wow.
And then Manu Cardenas just one-on-one beats Candy Groom to the cone. Like,
also something you don't see very often.
just sucks the wind right out of you. It was like, wow, Brutes has no chance. That's what it felt like right now. This was like, wow, this game's over now.
And to be able to do it in these conditions and the confidence that Revolution is
Just a straight doink indoors. There's no wind. Just tried to catch it too fast.
I think she had that look ahead. You got to watch the disc all the way into the hands.
That's right.
I think she was looking at the play. Just been there a lot of times. Just a repetition, you know.
With the stakes quite like this before.
So Boston, as they tend to do, sends the D-line out on L. No, wait, no, never mind. They're on defense.
That is absolutely like. I mean, it's pretty obviously the worst case scenario, but like, it's just it deflates you. Like you get all ready for this game. It's like insane high energy, and then you drop the pull, get broken, and then have to pull on defense, like to go down 3 if the O-line scores. It's just kind of a nightmare scenario for Brute.
The nightmare scenario.
Bang.
There you go, Charlie.
Can she get there? She bids. She's got it.
I mean,
Legends.
The place went on fire.
Legends.
From the Colombians.
I was sitting at the
Even watching
production
it now,
computer.
I mean,
I was sitting at the production computer. We're gonna watch this a bunch of times. I was sitting at the production computer, and I was like, "Oh my!" I was freaking out, just like trying to produce the game. I forgot that these things happen right back to back.
I mean, how do you come back from this if you're Brute Squad?
This went to Sports Center within like 24 hours. It was on Sports Center's like top 10.
Electric.
And a sick throw, by the way.
Let it fly. And then Laura Ospina, as good as it gets.
Lepler's so jacked up, dude.
This reminds me. So I feel like the generation before this, the version of this catch was Andrew Fleming from Sockeye at Worlds. He has that one where it looks like there's no way he's going to get to it, and he catches up to it. Like that's what Ospina did. It's like there's just no way she's going to catch up to it, and just like keeps accelerating, full extension bid.
The defensive pressure suffocating. Malinowski.
So I completely forgot that the drop pull was immediately followed by like a one-throw possession for the monster layout from Ospina. It's like, can you come up with a better way to like start your 20-minute indoor session? All right. Foul?
Yeah. Certainly in with diff rules, I think there's plenty of body contact here.
Okay, so in my opinion, this should not be a foul. I'm not saying that it isn't a foul here under like current whiff diff rules, but like this is good defense.
You can see the contact under her arm.
I just think that's like good defense. And to be fair, like whiff diff's looking to update their rules to make some amount of contact allowable without it being a foul. If it's on like the hand or arm, I think is the rule.
And that's just like the kind of error that makes you feel like Brute Squad's out of it. I mean, that is not the type of mistake I think you see from them a lot. Revo does the same thing, but I think it is, you're a little more accustomed to that, especially this Revo team that has like a few pseudo ringers. They're not really ringers, but they're people who played with Revo before, but don't always.
And like what? Like that's not a good throw.
Oh, that's a nice catch though. Is that Cartagena?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Cartagena throws around Hoffman. This is Valeria Cardenas with gorgeous throws, sending it deep. Young, no!
Ooh. That's a good throw from Valeria Cardenas.
The fourth turnover.
I think it was a tough read though for Aki Young. It's like kind of right over her head, and then it trails the other way, and you could tell she like couldn't really accelerate. She wasn't quite sure which direction it was going to go.
There's a pick downfield. The throwing up from Synchro.
You got to send this here, right? But just give Leanne a shot at it.
I know. Put it in bounds. Nicholas Whitlock.
Unmarked backhand indoors. I mean, you just got to put it up to Leanne Hoffman, right?
Nicholas Whitlock in the chat noting that it's hand or arm contact after contact with the disc will no longer be a foul in whiff diff. So if you like sky somebody and then hit their arm on the way down, it's not a foul. But the play we just saw would still be a foul.
So also Nicholas Whitlock said earlier that he thinks that the reason Revolution's so popular, particularly at like a championship like this, is because they're often the team taking down the Titans in the U.S. Do you feel like that's the case, Charlie? Like they're easy to root for, especially compared to like the Americans.
It definitely helps. Man, Revo just doing everything right now. I think it helps, but I think they also just have, you know, they're a great team. And they kind of came, I don't want to say they came out of nowhere, but people didn't anticipate them being as good as they have been. And, you know, they probably have 3 or 4 of the top 10 women in the world on their team. I think it's kind of selling them short to say that it's just because of their contrast to U.S. club teams. But it doesn't hurt.
After Brute Squad had overcome a 2-0
their development has been benefited by the kind of like outside attraction people have had to their organization, which is to their credit. I mean, they brought those people in to have become a part of their culture and helping them grow.
Pull. Look at that pull.
She's an incredible pull.
That pull is better than any pull we saw in either of the men's games. I guess it maybe just
but
trickled
it's
out
out
the
of
back there. But that was a massive pull. If you want to learn how to pull,
I think it's pretty well established. She's the best puller in the world. Right?
Yeah. If you want to learn how to pull, watch Mosquera. Like, incredible form and power.
At what point, if you're Brute Squad, do you feel like we have to change our play style and start trying to score quickly?
Already?
Well, here's the D-line on O that I was mentioning earlier. Nice, efficient score.
But you only have 10 minutes. You like gotta could probably only give up one more score before it's too late.
I remember feeling like there was a real lack of urgency on their part that I think hurt them. Like, you should be on top of things between points. You need to be out there quick, getting ready to pull, signaling readiness. Like, there needs to be a sense of urgency that I don't know necessarily felt like it was there from the sidelines anyway.
I think it's kind of interesting. We just watched Caitlin Lee throw the high-release backhand to Juliana Werfley, two of the younger players on the team. And, like, you have the veteran Amber Sinacrope dropping the pole, and then Cami Groom getting beat to the cone, and then it's like the young players who come through and, like, get the first positive play, really, of this indoor session for Brute Squad. A sign of things to come, perhaps.
So, this is Revo. Revo is going to end up with a drop pull here of their own, which was pretty freaky. I cannot think of a game where I've seen two teams drop the pull, especially indoors. It's even now, it's still hard to tell if that really hits her, if it hits the ground. I think Weaver slips and the disc hits her foot. Like, it's so close to hitting the ground and then hitting her. It's very hard to tell.
And I don't know if we really got a good look at it on the replay ever. That
she
replay
slips
was horrible.
on the turf going to field it and then accidentally kicks it.
So here we go.
I
Let's see if
hesitate to
we-
call
let's see if
things
we can see.
unfortunate.
I don't know. That sure looked like it hit her foot from here.
I mean, I think it hits her foot. How unlucky.
Oh. Cameras didn't do us justice there.
I know there's people who don't believe in momentum, but if you needed a momentum shift, this could be it.
I mean, you basically
I doubt
get,
that's what Boston's
you-
talking about, though.
you get the first one back for free.
Off the hands, but saved by Aleja Torres. Here's Ospina. And there was a pick downfield. So hold everything. We're under 8 minutes to go. Unlike normal whiff diff rules, when this
I feel like this tournament being in the U.S. was a big part of what started getting the hand signals to spread more in North American Ultimate. Between this and U24s in Australia, a lot of players started using the hand signals.
That's true.
Much appreciated from the sideline. That's a beautiful throw, a beautiful setup too by Manu. I think we get a couple looks at this, so you can kind of see how this gets set up between her and Torres.
Oh, it's just like the drone footage.
You can really take advantage of in this indoor situation as well, as there's no wind to stop that nice blading flick huck from going up.
The sentiment on the sidelines. During the last
I mean, that's just a beautiful series of plays. You get the throw, and then the quick dish to like recognizing like, oh, let me set up another play. And then Torres to space. You can see Manu doesn't have a ton of separation, but she creates it by like shifting over her left shoulder and then cutting back to her right, creating a little extra room. This is beautiful.
Violent thunderstorms, tornado warnings have forced us indoors, and the Cincinnati Ultimate Organization, along with Whiff Diff, has gotten us.
This is the wall-to-wall soccer complex.
Here on this Friday night in Mason, Ohio. Sinacrope.
So it's like pretty hurry up and score time for Brute Squad.
Valeria Cardenas on the mark.
Nice mark by Cardenas to take away that open under.
Oh goodness!
Oh yeah, I remember this. Sinacrope was really unhappy, and as you could tell, that was a bad play. I mean, there's just no way around it. It was a really bad play.
Going for that same space, got there late, and Sinacrope felt the
See it again here. I mean, it's an easy yellow card here, right? Doing the concussion test, head coach Ari Jackson there. That's an easy yellow card. Nobody has to say that it was like an intentional thing. It's just like, nope, you can't do that. If you do something like that again, you will be ejected from the game.
I have the same reaction right now that I had at the time, which was I cannot believe that she's staying in the game. I think I really think she should, like, just take a second, you sub her out, make sure she's okay for real, instead of, like, just leaving her on and, like, assuming. Like, I get that Amber's a veteran. She probably knows her body better than anybody. But, like, I just can't see someone take a hit like that and feel like you should just stay in.
Yeah, she just got hit by a linebacker, basically.
Right, like, I think you take the point out. And even, like, if she gets up, is she going to be, like, in the right mindset? Like, I don't know. It's a tough spot.
Everything's a little out of sorts right now for Brute Squad. And it's like you're feeling desperate. You want your best offensive handler on the field there. I kind of get it, but you're not wrong, Keith. Like, you should probably take the rest of the point.
Looking for Hoffman. Brute Squad within one.
Brute Squad needed to find a way to respond there. They did. They got lucky.
Their O-line really needed to get something going, though. And being able to find Hoffman there really, really needed.
So in the chat, Daniel Prentice asking, how do we feel about the head coach conducting the concussion test rather than medical staff? It's a fair point. The thing is, if you're going to go see get the medical staff to come over and do the concussion test, you're losing time off the clock. Like,
I also think if medical felt like he wasn't doing a good job, like, they would step in. The medical staff was pretty on top of stuff. I do think it's really weird, though, that she was not removed from the game for that point. Like, do a full evaluation, at least. Like, this is what I mean. Do you see a lack of urgency right now? Like, there's 3 minutes on the clock, and they're, like, arranging themselves on the line still.
I'm telling you, they're discombobulated. They come out here, they drop the pull, they get scored on, and then Ospina, destroys them with the layout, and the game is over at that point, basically. And they just, like, never have, like, been back to, like, the Brute Squad that we know from Club Nationals.
Sadler, one of the best defenders in the division, especially on handlers, bails out the offense there with the cut. And now, like, what is this? So I think Brute Squad is arguing that there was a violation, that they came in before players were correctly positioned. This extra 2 yards is not worth the 40 seconds you lose to make this call. Sadler's saying that right now. She's like, I tapped it in really fast because we're running out of time. This is where Revo is so scary. I mean, their throwers are so good at the disc in a neutral position. They're so good at throwing both sides from that neutral spot.
Somebody on a Send It Back in the past talked about this. Maybe Claire Chastain. Revo does weird things on the field that U.S. club teams are not used to. They attack spaces from strange angles, and it doesn't always feel like they have the same structural offense that U.S. teams do. But it means that they're super dangerous in small spaces because they'll do weird stuff like that.
But did you see, like, all 3 of those thrower possessions had a lot of neutral position, right? A lot of, like, disc dead in front of you. I can go to either side. And particularly the Cardenases and Nina Cartagena are incredibly effective from that position. Maybe it's as much as any thrower I can think of. And that allows them to play that kind of small ball game so well. So Brute Squad lost 2 minutes in that point without getting the disc. Like, that is just it's not gonna get you back there.
It's just tough. I mean, you got to get a block.
All the time we see them in these tight spaces playing small ball and squeezing it.
You talk about that neutral position, Keith. I think that's going to be something that becomes a greater feature of Ultimate in the future. Is like people attacking for more of a kind of like a triple threat type situation to steal a term from basketball. And, also with more people developing offhand throws, you can be more unpredictable with what you're going to do with the disc if you're just standing kind of centered with both hands on the disc.
Yeah, I think that particularly the continued prevalence of the offhand backhand is going to just increase the amount of neutral position you see. I definitely agree with that. But again, like, just take. No, they didn't look to huck it yet, and you can tell this time there was an emergency as Cinecorp sprinted in.
They're
So
just
this was
gonna
also
walk
weird.
off.
They
So
they're supposed
weird.
to finish the point. They just gave up. They just walked off the field.
I mean, I don't
But-
really have a problem with that. Like,
I don't either. It was weird. So later there in the game, that the teams try and finish the point, and the Whip is like, no, we don't have time for this. So you know, things still getting ironed out.
And the women from Medellin will await either Seattle Riot or Denver Molly Brown in tomorrow's championship bout.
What a game that Revolution just came out here and played. They were clearly ready
Wow.
for this opportunity. They executed exactly the game plan that they wanted to do, which was just come out here and
Let's see if we
play
get one more
all
look at the
way they
Ospina
normally
play.
would, not let themselves get wrapped up in the situation. And we have a club team from Colombia headed to the World Ultimate Club Championship Final.
Becky, Colombia outscored Boston.
all right, Keith, is Colombia
indoors here. They
gonna
entered with a
win
6 lead. They win it 12-9. It
the
was
women's
reminiscent
division at
of
Worlds
the
if it happens next
wind
year?
conditions that we saw when this game began earlier
I would
this
still
morning.
favor the
They
Americans.
took advantage of the conditions, some shakiness from Boston
But you got to think they're the top contenders, right?
to Revolution.
After the U.S., it's either Canada or Colombia. Yeah.
I don't know how I would after this. It's been an absolutely crazy day here in Lebanon, Ohio, and Revolution, they've got to be excited, but they also have to go back to game plan for whatever is going to happen tomorrow, either Molly Brown or Riot.
Disappointing
I think
showing from
their depth
Revo.
gets hurt a little bit, you know, when they don't have as many of the non-Colombian residents on the team.
Yeah.
I am Hannah Penderbury, and
Yeah.
Now their top end has shown that they could carry a pretty heavy load.
But I mean, they had a really disappointing showing in the final against Riot of this
Agreed.
tournament.
Although I maintain that Riot looked like they had the plan coming out. They knew what they were very focused.
They were.
Changed hotels 4 times at this tournament due to some logistical
All right.
issues. So perhaps that might give them
Molly Brown, as I'm sure you can tell, back in the mustaches.
as we
This
now
was a different time, Mustache Gate.
Mustache
So Molly
kid.
Brown with the pull on the defense.
But it was fine for Worlds. It was
But
charming.
playing a short roster, Molly Brown, just 16 of their players cleated up and ready to go in this brutally short 20-minute game. Nice movement from Ryan.
Ooh.
But a miscued throw behind the back of Lauren Baisha.
If you were hoping that there could be a game here, I mean, this is exactly what you want to see.
Chastain doing everything right away, too.
Coverage, and Mark does all they can.
And this is another situation where there was someone lost an 8 and lost an edge. You know, blew a tire. Defender slips, wide open cutter. I don't know how there's no switch. To me, that maybe feels like we're indoors. It's frenetic. I maybe can't hear the sideline as well as I want. Feels like there should be a switch there from the mark, but doesn't come. Riot gets broken right away. I mean, if you're the mark, you have to drop here.
Never got the call. Never heard it or something.
Never
I mean,
got the call.
it was loud in there. You have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, and that's not an environment that players are used to.
First blood in this
Jack Verzu
very intense.
had a just massive tournament.
They were unstoppable points. I mean, especially in the final, they were just crushing. Some of the best matchups they could face, and they were just taking over.
Good separation, but that's going to hang for days.
Oh, great defense.
Great defensive play from Molly Brown.
Kira Lindgren with the block. Throw. It feels like that should have been an easy score for Riot, and the throw hangs a bit.
How much shorter is Lindgren than the offensive player she was covering? I mean, that's great defense from a shorter player.
I'm thinking Lindgren's probably used to defending players taller than her.
Yep.
Peeling off the front.
Offensive players should really seal a little bit better there.
Sideline.
Let the disc come across and then chase it down.
Certainly creative throw use available to both sides in the conditions with no wind whatsoever. Occasionally vicious.
So, of course, the crowd is rooting for a break here.
Far to the left side of Claire Chastain and gives the disc back to Riot.
Crowd's always going to be always root for the underdogs.
Sennheiser on the disc. Chews up a big shot.
Oh, time for the Dartmouth special. You don't need to be a Dartmouth to run it. When in doubt, back shoulder for Jack Verzoo. No better play in the game.
There's just like so much margin for error too. I mean, that was a perfect throw, indefensible. But even if you hang it and the defender has a chance, Verzoo's still probably going to come down with it. And look at the mismatch here. I mean, Verzoo would have dunked had it come to that.
I know, it's just like you have this release valve. Why even have a reset when I could just back shoulder fade it towards the corner? Like, why bother? I cannot count how many times I've seen Angel Zoo throw that to Jack Verzoo.
Perhaps pullers have been holding back a bit, but we've seen hammers, we've seen pucks, nothing negatively impacted in that regard.
Zipper overthrow opens up the offense, now working it nicely down the center of the field.
Pretty good defense there from Chyna Titcomb. I believe that's who's on.
Who was on an island. I mean, not a lot of help there for her.
Chastain pops it up over the top into the hands.
Chastain loving the high, crazy backhand right now.
As 14 minutes and change.
Yeah, there. I mean, Colorado is going to be used to playing in the thin air. She knows that she can angle that to drop quickly rather than have it hang. And when you got the control that she does, it's a dangerous weapon. I mean, that's over a high extended hand. And she just like
right on the target.
Backhand to the break side there for the goal. Doing there was their urgency against the clock. Their offense pulled the trigger on some deep shots that they might not otherwise have thrown had the time crunch not been working against them.
Speaking to Molly Brown before this game, they said they couldn't just shout their way through the match.
Ooh, that's a great chance for a block, and just nobody ever got eyes on the disc.
Yeah, kind of a weird position to throw that, but
good work from the handler set. Keeping the resets alive. Verzoo showing Jack can go on both sides.
Verzoo with the break.
That's going to go right to the back line, but sits up just enough. Great spin on that disc, Ian.
Right with the goal to looks like Khalees Cardenas in the back. But once Verzoo kind of developed a little bit of that handler game, it's just game over for most people.
You can see just getting enough of an angle away from Maggie Chen.
Well, we're now at 10-7, a 3-goal margin.
So Molly just not putting up a lot of defensive resistance right now.
Rightly say, I think. Molly Brown holding this point now very crucial as we.
And Riot's giving them some chances with some less than desirable throws, but
Applegate center of the field.
At least all the pulls have been caught.
Molly Brown running incredibly short lines as the marks tumbles to the ground.
Nice fake. Got the camera guy.
Everything they have, knowing that this could be the end of the tournament.
Paige Applegate going to work.
Double cutting upfield. Really relying on the handlers to keep the disc alive. Casey comes out, reaching lefty grab, big backhand going up, and that's going to have
great throw from Lisa Pitcaithley.
All over it.
That's a classic Lisa P kind of play. Use all that length to step out and deliver a throw back across the field. I think she does that a lot. It's something she excels at as a thrower. Is like, hey, I'm really tall. I'm going to use it to go wide around the mark, and often to do that back against the grain.
One of the advantages, Ian, I would say.
Feels like a system play there. She looked to that spot as soon as she turned up field. Was like almost ready to throw that throw before she even like set the pivot.
The clock continues to dwindle. Jesse Schaffner on the pole. Claire Chastain, Paige Applegate staying.
I feel, am I crazy? I feel like I don't see Jesse Schaffner pull very often. I think this is the second time we've seen her pull this game. Maybe she was pulling this season. I don't recall. But just in her career, she's not someone who I recall pulling very much. Maybe I'm off on that though.
In the center of the field is found. Nice pop up the line into the waiting hands.
Oh, the hammer was there.
Good swinging. Williams now.
I'm surprised we've seen so few hammer. I don't know. We've seen a single hammer, maybe one. This whole
I do think there was some intimidation about people being worried they were going to hit the
hit the
roof.
ceiling. Yeah.
As we see a pick ball on the field.
You're just not calibrated to throw it, you know? I mean, Applegate getting the Verzu assignment, I think they've tried different players on them every single point, but from running the O-line to coming back on the D-line with that assignment, it's a tough gig.
Watched Claire Chastain throw that a couple times and wanted to go for it. So this is, yeah, as Ian Toner just said on the broadcast, this has to be a break. 100%. You're not going to get back from within 3.
Putting this team on her back, speed is there, but unfortunately so is the
Wow,
defense.
that was great team defense right there.
Pickup. The Seattle Riot get the disc back.
Can we go back on that? Can we come back in with that coming in with Chastain?
Good swinging. Williams now.
Looks like Applegate is calling a pick on Verzu. Verzu is still going to keep the disc.
So this is the Verzu turnover.
So Verzu puts up an arcing backhand, rolls.
And Claire Chastain's going to pick up.
In front of the intended target.
This is make or break time.
So, this is not an unusual look, I think, from Molly Brown. Schaffner at the front of the stack, you got the angled stack, and Schaffner curls around the front and goes break. But you can see that, like, the first initial defense on her is not good, and Verzu helps, and then Verzu directs other help from Soper off the back. And Soper, who is in no way faster than Schaffner, has enough heads up to be able to get position and just win that.
It's just a little wheel play from Molly Brown, but great recognition from Riot to pick it up and basically cover the full deep shot.
And the thrower has to put it early to get it out to space because of where they're located in the field relative to where the cut is going. And that prevents Chastain from being able to, for example, just throw a hard pump fake and have all those defenders moving that way and counter back the other way, which I think is ideally what you want to do once you see all that help. But I don't even know if she has the time. Easy score the other way for Riot. Dom just casually putting it in the end zone.
And I think you may have called it, Ian, 5 minutes, 50 seconds-ish on the clock.
And Dominique Fontenette had a really good tournament. She had some great plays. I remember in the final. Just like classic stuff. I mean, that's just what Dom's going to do. She's going to go in. She's going to get the in cut. She's going to throw the score. She's never going to make a mistake. Just like still an elite offensive cutter after like 25 years of doing it.
We still have 5 minutes of scintillating scenes here.
Well, she was like the first or second Callahan winner in the women's division.
Maybe playing for pride, Ian,
still out here.
but it's going to look pretty good.
I'm going to look up Callahan.
Will allow Molly Brown to set up their offense, but of course, Seattle Riot on the shoulders, able to save.
She won it in 1997.
See a tumble in the center of the field.
Second, you're correct. Second all time. After Val Kelly won it in 96.
So now Molly Brown's in this under 6 minutes, down 3. Surge on Claire Chastain. This is the final Riot tournament for Surge.
Well taken.
But if you're Molly Brown, like time to accelerate the clock. If we're not scoring quickly, it's almost not worth it.
The side of Molly Brown has a nice single-handed grab, casual from Chastain, keeping cool heads.
I mean, I think the general lack of urgency we saw from teams that were behind in these 20-minute sessions kind of shows you how chaotic the whole situation was. Like, people didn't even find out they were playing until a couple hours before they had to play. And most teams thought they were not going to be playing again. In fact, I think they were told that there would be no more games on the day. And then they said, actually, never mind, we're playing the rest of the semis, but you only get 20 minutes, and you need to be here in an hour.
Switches there from the Riot defense in the end zone.
It's like, how do you prepare? This is one of those like situations where you're trying to be as malleable as possible because you just can't possibly prepare for this. So it's like being able. This is whenever coaches talk about uncontrollables. Like this is the scenario they're trying to prepare you for.
You got to be ready for when lightning storms cancel the game and then it gets rescheduled into an indoor soccer complex.
In 20-minute halves, you know, like.
Often see teams good old conservation of greatness.
So obviously a crucial defensive point for Molly.
Defense with eyes all over it, just getting into the view. Enough.
That's a nice block.
Wait a minute. There's not a foul call, is it?
On that disc before it touched Khalees Cardenas's hand.
I think Khalees is taking it back. Yeah.
Yeah, looks like we're seeing a retraction here.
Nice little 30 seconds of time wasting though. A veteran move from Khalees Cardenas.
But this is what I'm talking about. If you're Molly Brown, like you're incentivized to like not argue, right?
Yeah. But I mean, you got to make sure you get the disc.
Yeah.
That would have been a terrible foul call. So good retraction.
Opportunity here, Golden, to show us that they can hold it together for their own offense.
Now maybe the offense is looking to go deep because there were like 4 people sitting at the deep
and
gun
one.
Lizzie,
oh, stare him down. Oh no, it's hurt.
Stare of concern. Much better stare.
But also an injury sustained on that play.
Great throw, by the way.
Brown is alive. Down by 1, 2 minutes left.
Great catch. Laurie gets 2 hands on it.
And 1.
Jams it with 2 for safety. You know, got to be secure. Under duress, you love to see it.
2 minutes on the clock. Molly Brown.
More Paige Applegate. This is I would say the MVP really for Molly Brown in this game.
It was kind of a stare down at first. I really think it was. It looks like a stare down, not like a you're hurt kind of deal. Watch. That's a stare down. And then she realizes that there's an injury. Maybe I'm ascribing too much there, but it's a reasonable stare down given the circumstances.
So as we say, all important, this D-line now of Molly Brown.
This is again though, like I get that they're now within 1, and if they can score here, it's fine. But if they don't go faster, they have no room for error. They now basically have to score at this point. Before, if they're going fast, they can give up a quick score and still maybe get in the game. I don't know. To me, it's not worth it.
If you see this in the chat, Keith, Jesse Schaffner said, when we got informed from our leadership about like the 20-minute session, they thought it was a joke. So there you go. Like you can imagine, like you're chilling back at the house, you're having a beer, the captains come in and say, we got to play in 2 hours at a 20-minute end of our semifinal game. You assume it's a joke.
I see hashtag Lori time in the chat. One of the saddest things about this lost PUL season is not getting to see Lizzie Lori come back to the field.
3-pass score, could it be? Yes, I think it can. And that
is they played out like
and the chances of
this is exactly the kind of thing that if they go faster, they can afford. They would have another 45 seconds on the clock.
Folks.
Now the game's over, basically. I get it. There's cost and benefits both ways. Like you want to make sure that you have a good deep point.
I mean, at the end of the day,
but then they got beat up open side for 2 goals.
At the end of the day, they had to get a break, and they
The
gave
Riot
themselves a
O-line
chance to
squad.
get a break to tie to
There
force
we
double
see
game
the
point.
open hand
Now they
and
didn't get the
celebration
break,
of Dominique
but like, what more do
Fontenette.
you want?
I mean,
Time
not to
expired
get
on
beat
the
to the open
game,
side
and
I
to
mean,
get scored
fair
on
enough,
and do throws
but
is
Don
number one.
Fontenette.
But
with this match.
But
Don
also, like,
Fontenette,
if they had
Looking
rushed on the
ahead to
line at the previous
tomorrow's
point,
matchup.
a score that quick would have meant there's like another 45 seconds on the clock, and that would have been maybe given them enough time to get in
but you
one quick score and
Sure,
start
but
the next point.
But you still end up in the same situation where it's like, you know, you need to get a break on that point. So it's just like, that
Agreed.
happened 2 points earlier. I just think,
A difficult match to
Yeah,
have.
and I get that. Like I'm saying, like I get that if you want to just put all your eggs in that basket and say like, let's just try and have the best deep point we can right here, totally legitimate. I just feel like I'd rather have 2 shots at, even if they're less quality shots.
that's fair.
Allowing just over 5.5 goals.
So this is just
per game
formality at
coming
this point.
into this match, but they haven't seen.
Oh, and there's a
That would have been incredible. The most incredible, irrelevant play ever. Right? Just like an insane greatest.
Quality flair in this match.
Pick call.
Stephanie Lim.
Is this the game that they stop? That we have to just like, come on, we got to move on.
In the first half.
I don't know if it's this one or if it's one of the mixed games.
Layout blocks, anchoring the D line and marching in breaks.
And talking about marching it in, there we go. Sign, seal, deliver. That is Riot into the women's final tomorrow. And they are right.
It's a dang good Riot team.
Delighted.
No doubt about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. How come Riot can't find the same, like,
stick with us. We'll
magic
bring you more action
at
this
USAU
evening
Nationals,
from the
Keith?
mixed division
I
to
think we had like the exact same conversation on the podcast after
But it's
Worlds.
been an absolute pleasure to bring you
Like,
this match.
why can't they do
Riot
it
Seattle,
at Nationals?
Molly Brown of Denver.
And like,
What a show.
I don't know.
Stick with us as we bring you more coverage.
I don't know if it's maybe
Ultimate Club
maybe it's like the way that they progress through the season. Maybe it's just gotta play Fury all the time. I don't know.
So,
Welcome back to the fields here at the
there was a 1 hour
2018
break
World Ultimate
for
Club
a soccer
Championships.
game to take
We
place.
have a
Like,
slight change of format with
not a professional soccer game.
No, it was
not
like-
a literally like rec league soccer.
it was just very jarring to go from, like, the world's highest quality Ultimate teams to, like, little kids playing terrible soccer.
It was
But they-
adults, I'm pretty sure. It was
Was it
like
good? It was- maybe it
mediocre
was.
adults who were like being very intense and not that good at soccer. And it was super surreal. To be like, well, we paused the World Championships for this
Okay.
rec league.
Hang on a second. Amp won Nationals in 2018, right?
It's definitely a hard comeback.
That sounds right. Yes. Yeah, because they went back to
Because
back.
they won back-to-back. So strange to see them struggle early against BFG.
Certainly is, and we'll get underway with a big ball into the end
Well,
zone.
BFG had Kieran Kelly, who was, for my money, the best player in the mixed division at this tournament.
Right out the back.
My
And
performance.
that is what BFG need to do, Becky.
Wow.
Had an 8-4
Great start
lead at the start, now
for
taking
Seattle.
9-4 with an offensive hold.
Yeah, and Kieran Kelly did a great job with the little body, shoulder to shoulder, but no actual contact.
He was just unstoppable in the deep
On that
space
one-on-one
during this
battle there
tournament.
as he tracked that disc down, and BFG off to a great start, although Amp still looks pretty fired up here.
Big ripper from the hand of Jeffrey Pate. Sails through the air.
You can really hear the crowd noise there.
Tumbling defender.
I mean, do you basically feel like if Amp doesn't break to open this game, it's over already?
I mean,
Break of score off
it's
the
still
bat.
theoretically possible, but it's theoretically possible in the way where it's like,
Time.
you're down 6, and
That
it's
is the
like,
offensive hold.
the other team has to score 1 point to win, and you're like, we could still do it.
We saw them earlier in the week as well.
You
They
could.
love to put those deep shots up, especially to the likes
But it,
of
like, never
receivers
happens.
Kieran Kelly.
So Dan Young mentions that Kieran Kelly and Rina Kawabata, who were both in their first year at BFG, were unstoppable during this tournament, which is big facts, definitely true.
That is very true.
They then left the team mid-season during the club season.
Man, was that in 2018?
Yeah.
Wow, I forgot that.
they won the world championships, and then
keep themselves in medal
they
contention.
couldn't keep it together.
Center of the field.
And like literally, they were the two best players on the team at this tournament.
Yeah. Yes.
Big name player for the AMP side. More centers into.
And this is also this is like old AMP. They had already during the club season they had lost some of these players, but like they have like Michael Ing back with the team.
Right.
And,
they played with the 2017 roster.
Right. It's like a reunion of sorts.
From Tommy Lee. Arcing flick near side of the field.
Nice throw.
Plenty of space for Coleman.
That's one of the first like really creative throws we've seen in this environment.
And a tumbling mark exposes.
Wow,
the
BFG
break side,
so
and that
sharp.
is a break of score for BFG, and they are delighted as they charge onto the field.
Yeah, and Tommy Lee there did such a good job to stay focused through the contact that came into his back on the mark there.
You know, Tommy Lee
I will
doesn't
say,
get
so
enough
these
respect.
mixed games,
They
they both were like the two teams had sizable leads, and it was late because of the break. So we'd have this like hour and a half long break, hour long break. It was a much more subdued environment. You could see a lot of people left during that break and just didn't come back.
I just want to come back
And
to
at this
something.
point, it's like 10 o'clock at night.
It is late. It's getting late. Tommy Lee doesn't get enough respect as like a top tier mixed player.
Well, the blue-shirted players from
That's probably true.
giving themselves all the hard work to have.
I'm working on my
right
top
now.
25 mixed players list right now, and
Attack from
Tommy
the
Lee
Dude,
is,
Charlie,
is,
give it
a,
a-
is a borderline whether or not he's going to get included.
and a big play.
Well, there you go, folks. We're working on top 25 club players. This is your sneak preview. Thanks for joining us.
They have arrived in the second half of the
I'm thinking Michael Ing might make a few mixed division
Normal,
lists.
they're shooting upfield to Michael Ing as well. That's a great pairing that we saw work for them so well at USAU Nationals in a Universe Point final game there against Mixtape. So good to see that chemistry on the board, and now they're going to have to do something different on defense to generate a turn.
BFG's, it's kind of an odd team, right? They've changed so much in such a short amount of time. When you look at the people on this team, Mario O'Brien, Andrew Hagan, Adam Simon, Rena Kawabata, Kieran Kelly.
Good flow.
All people who are not on the team, if I'm not mistaken anymore.
Well, Mario O'Brien was on the team this past season for sure, but they've changed a lot, like over every year almost.
Yeah.
Whereas like Mixtape, the other top team in the city, is like has had a very consistent core. We've seen BFG like cycle through a lot of different players.
So BFG's O-line.
So here's ISO Rena Kawabata, which was very effective throughout the tournament. And then that doesn't work. We'll try and isolate Kieran Kelly.
Oh, nice handle marks now, much tighter. As we see a poachy defender. That's the number 4.
That's a very smart block from Raha.
And a quick scoop into the end zone.
Just kind of senses there's confusion, senses that her cutter, the person she's guarding, is not really in the space to be a threat. So she has room to just jump the play, gets in the reset lane, and knocks it away.
We saw her do that so much throughout the entire tournament as well. Loves to get those post blocks, especially on her handler defense, and not shy of doing it again here in such an important game.
So we see a transition of looks initially quite loose and poachy to then suddenly stifling handler defense coming up good for Philadelphia. Go on to face whoever.
All right, so like, you know,
between slow wide
some hope for AMP here.
We'll have to wait for the action for that match just after this one. A 10-minute break between, but this game is certainly not over. To see BFG.
So BFG has a lot of good handlers. We got Tommy Lee, Adam Simon, Jeff Pape, Crystal Koo.
Good swing across to Crystal Koo, one of the O-line captains for BFG. Movement upfield, no deep strike available, but takes the far side. That's a visionary throw.
Whew.
Rena Kawabata.
Man, The Hucks have been absolutely on point. Has their O-line even made a mistake yet?
No, they're cooking.
And it's like they're not even like coming close to making mistakes. They're just throwing darts. Kawabata with great breakaway speed.
Extending her stride to get to that throw. Unbeatable when she's in front of her defender.
The closing speed of Kawabata there.
And basically a perfect throw.
Perfect.
Defender, no chance at it. Easy catch.
Despite not really getting power position, like had it, hesitated, and then threw it. Still right on the money.
Go and chomp them out of the air like that. So an efficient hold. The ball will land out of bounds. Allowing
Inexcusable, Tom Styles would say. Another out of bounds pull.
For Philadelphia's AMP.
It's the World Championships.
The order of the day. The AMP happy to work it through their hand, a set. Nice and patient. Furious cuts, a nice high release.
I don't feel like this plays to Amp's strengths necessarily.
Backhand, some stumbling there, but
Well, that was it. I was just about to say they're like not the most aggressive deep throwing team, but that was basically like a perfect deep play. So maybe I should shut up on that.
far side of that end zone.
I just wouldn't say they're like a super
Is that Luke
aggressive
Ryan? Who
team.
is that?
Yeah, Luke Ryan on the catch. Was that Matt Zumbrum? Was that who threw that? Panna? It's Panna?
React to the poaches that BFG threw in the lane. As soon as they started to move the disc, BFG was forced to melt out of that
Perfect throw.
junk set. And
Yeah, I mean that's how you draw it up.
Well, we were complimenting the closing speed of Kawabata in the previous point, but what a recovery for Luke Ryan there. A wee stumble and then finds his feet and just churns towards the back line.
All right, 10 minutes to go. Amp still hasn't gotten a break. Got to start finding some action here. Oh, hit the roof.
That's the pull that hits the roof.
Hit the roof.
The changing conditions. Justice that has caressed the roof of this indoor arena.
I don't remember that making the Callahan highlight reel.
Enough, Hannah, in the previous games, the teams had agreed upon if they threw up a hammer and they hit the roof, that the disc would actually return to the thrower, but off a pull, the disc will go back to the brick mark.
Well, the same
Wow, it starts at the brick.
landing on either side
Interesting.
of the field.
Kind of anticlimactic, right?
Contact with the roof is out of bounds.
Kind of. I wanted to take it where it
For
hit the
sure.
roof.
Can't play any street ultimate here. One bounce, one catch.
Just crisp offense from BFG.
Great Severus. Just so much speed on
Look
the
at
field
this.
now, Becky. They really want this. They might have the advantage in terms of
Great
scoreline,
spacing.
but all players on the field like their lives depend on it as we see
Easy.
once
Yeah,
more
that's
Easy.
critical.
Kelly, the favorite target, this time by Adam Simon.
Okay, if Amp had kept
Yeah, and like
Kawabata and Kelly on the roster, could they have won nationals?
Get these scores, and this is something
BFG, you mean? Yeah,
BFG, yeah.
First men's semifinal, Revolver came out.
I think so.
These teams
I think they would have been in the conversation. I mean,
could happily try to swing the disc around.
I mean, their
it was a
offense.
pretty thick year for the top end. And we had a lot of good teams that season.
To win with their legs, and we're seeing that again with BFG right now.
Back at USAU Nationals last year.
But I mean, look at when they were clicking, it was really hard to stop. They would get up the line really effectively. They used the width of the field well. They had a couple of really dangerous deep cutters.
To put another point on the board and keep the dream alive.
Just not the same cleanliness from Amp's O-line.
Defensive
Just like a
position
little
is
out of
there.
sync.
And a wee bit of contact from Ryan.
Yeah, it looks like they kind of cut each other off a couple times there. Linda Morse really just
You see
not
they-
giving anything to work with.
They get the great first undercut.
Yeah, Linda Morris there
They
didn't
hit it,
have
and then
any
there's
other
no
options.
continuation,
Had to put it up
and
in
then
the
it's like
face and just
stall
with
9,
a little bit of an
huck
aisle
to
angle
hope.
like you might do in the wind. That's not going to work indoors here.
Just, you know, it might be that they were just playing with a different roster. You know, like chemistry not quite there from having played a couple months together already.
But this one is far more intentional. Position Intuition is there, but double.
I don't know, man. They played a whole season together. It's tough for me to buy the chemistry argument. Especially against a BFG team that we noted their roster changes every week.
So Amp get the disc back. Hazari on the mark. Pick ball on the field.
I want to see another BFGO point.
In action. A little stumble there on the turf.
Just enjoy the beauty of the game.
I mean, come on. They're
On this surface, as we see a ripper of a
cleanest
backhand
offense we've
pass
seen
on
this
field.
whole evening.
And once again, a turnover.
Looks like Anna Thompson just trying to make something happen. At this
I mean,
point,
you got to.
right?
You got to.
And is there anybody else on the team you'd rather do that than Anna Thompson?
No.
Oh, this is becoming a game of throws here, Becky. To see some tasty footwork from Sue, far sideline. Puts it into the middle of the end zone with a backhand, and that is a score.
I'm trying to figure out if that was a breakthrough. I don't even know what the force was. Because the BFG offense just wouldn't let them really set up well. Or Amp didn't know what the force was either. I don't know. One of the two.
To keep BFG confidently ahead here, and then going the other way, Linnea Sue toes the line to keep it in bounds and throws for the score.
So score is now 13-7. Just over.
But I mean, it is a little crazy to think that this AMP team, which has looked pretty out of sorts for this whole sequence, won nationals.
2 points shy.
And regardless at this point, I mean,
It just shows you how much teams change from the summer to
top 4 in the world
the fall.
club. It's absolutely incredible.
Indeed, and all of the teams in the top 4 hailing from the US of A, as we see yet another big ripper.
There you go. Do what you gotta do here.
It's going to be a big layout bid, but does
Is that like the first
excellent
even look to get the disc to Nikki Spiva?
on the field. No hand signals being used.
I feel like he's been really uninvolved.
Shouted out. Nikki Spiva there. What a heroic attempt at a catch that was.
Nikki Spiva making the move from DC's truck stop.
So he had called something?
This year and has been a
I guess so.
Took it back.
member of this team, has fit right into their systems.
And so, BFG. Oh, what a block! Shame
That
she couldn't
was
make the catch,
awesome.
But my goodness me, what a play from Alicia Dixon.
Just full on.
Alicia Dixon, full send.
Full send.
Plays like that, Becky.
Full
The
send.
way to
Oh
play
no,
out
don't turn it
some
over.
tasty
No,
footwork.
and they blow it.
Consideration
You get
for
it?
body.
I was close.
Little discussion there as to whether that was in bounds.
Well, how do game advisors work in this situation again?
Toe and hit the floor. Kind of end zone score. It is
Called out.
No, sorry, out of bounds.
Oh no.
Out of bounds.
You can't give up
Hold on.
that
Not seeing this hand.
just gorgeous block.
Okay, back in play, not in bounds. Valiant attempt. Difficult, of course, to see in this lighting.
I think Dixon, another one of the players they were re-adding to the team
Local time here in
just for
Cincinnati.
Worlds.
Currently 10 to 11 at night.
That was a little bit dicey there.
BFG. Opportunity to take it to match point. As we see a pit call on the field. But what a play.
Yeah, somebody in the comments, Fireman, it's not just downfield for AMP either. Handlers don't look like they know what they want. Agreed 100%. Everything feels like it's a little out of sync for like what's supposed to happen next.
And that just seems weird to me for a team that is as experienced as AMP.
From Terrier.
And the team that went on to win nationals, you know, that's
Bend it.
Right. With less talent, probably, than this Worlds team had.
yeah, arguably.
Up in front, run into space. Follows the pass.
I mean, I think they lose Normile,
Immediately,
Dixon,
visionary
they had Spiva,
Did
or was he
Ing-
on truck this year?
Did Michael Ing play
No,
Tampa
Ing
that
was
year?
on temper.
Yeah.
Taking the score, extending the lead.
It's hard to just feel like they had more talent in 2018 than this.
Very, very little time left. I think
They're getting
I'd
steamrolled.
say This one's been put to bed in terms of Amp's hopes at obtaining a gold medal.
Pretty close.
That was a lot closer than I thought at first look. Oh yeah, give me another look at this.
Ah.
When
That would have been sick if she'd caught it.
You know, that's I think what
that looks
what
like
Hannah
it was
Pendlebury said in the commentary, and I was like, I don't know, man, it's pretty disgusting either way.
Yeah, it's fair. No, I'm not trying to take away from it. It's a great play, but
we all know that feeling of when one of your teammates gets a great block in the end zone, and like you want to celebrate, but you also like wish they had caught it.
Yeah, Daniel Prentice said this in the chat. Carolyn Normile was on the team in 18. She left in 19 to play for Scandal.
Got it.
So BFG with that ball for what could possibly be the last point of this mixed semi-final.
Unforgivable pull out of bounds there.
Irredeemable.
Just call the injury sub.
Capital offense.
Get off the field.
A very flat backhand, but a tumbling defender. Ryan very free. Hammer over the top. Too far to be.
I mean, you got to go for it, right? You know, you got to score 7 points in 10 seconds, so you might as well take the shot.
This is pre-Bobble Linda Morse. Before
right.
everything changed, you know.
It is crazy to go back and watch this now, like thinking back on what happened later in 2018. Both with BFG like losing their 2 best players midstream, and then Amp. You know, obviously Amp made
this has got to be the game that they're trying to figure out if they're going to keep playing or not.
Ahead of the game, and it is indeed to be given the fans what they want. It is deemed that they will.
They're like, no, it's so late. We got to go. Amp's like, what?
Yeah, BFG's like, we have to play tomorrow. I know you guys don't, but we do.
So are they going to play? I guess they're going to play.
I'm almost positive Whiff cancels this game. Or one of these games, so it's got to be this one, right?
Big deep poach in the backfield from the blue shirts of Amp as we see BFG charging down the field. Andrew Hagan in the center on the disc. He's going to put up a big backhand. Can there be the layout?
Oh, the last team, when Molly Brown played out the last point, they got scored on. I didn't know if we were going to see the same thing happen to Amp.
I think they just blew the whistle.
Potentially, sorry. Again, we're seeing confusing scenes.
There was an injury call, a foul call briefly in the middle of the.
There really is no reason to continue playing right now. It just like gives a chance for somebody to get hurt. Yeah.
And we're on a tight schedule, you know. Like
it's like 11 o'clock or something.
Yeah.
The fans
we
don't like it.
We literally are trying to play 20-minute games. We really shouldn't take more time than is necessary. No offense to him. I'm sure they want to play it out.
And they will advance to the finals tomorrow. So stay tuned with us here on the stream as we'll be bringing you the final.
I gotta say, not a fan of these BFG kids. Where's my Jersey expert Daniel Prentice? I need a quick take on these kids, BFG kids.
Certainly wildcard with it all to do on the charge, trying to snag the medal. Hopes.
How much do you think teams care about winning this tournament?
More action very, very shortly.
The American teams maybe slightly less than the other teams, but
definitely
more than it would be easy for us to say. I think teams want to win this tournament because it's cool to say you were the world champion. You know what I mean? Like
looked in. I'm going to say it again. I think that toe in was in. The whole sideline called it in.
Sideline never wrong, right?
Yeah, I think clearly teams don't. It comes at a weird time. It's like in the middle of the club season, and many teams are thinking about developing for winning the club championships. And so to like try to win Worlds could derail your chances of winning Nationals potentially, because it's difficult to prepare to peak twice within the same, span of 4 months. I mean, it probably varies from team to team, but definitely, given like the way we just watched Amp play and what we saw from Brute Squad earlier, like you can tell these are teams that we're going to expect to see in the finals of USAU Nationals. Just a little
No
different.
team that won Worlds won Nationals either.
That's right.
Slow white.
All right, the Boston battle.
With Johnson.
We didn't even talk about the fact that Riot did not qualify for this tournament.
Resets to Trahey.
Oh, that's right.
Riot
completely
did
forgot
not
that.
qualify. They lost to Ozone in quarters, right? And so they were on the wait list, and they only got in because teams dropped out.
In the blue shirts.
Okay, so it is literally now 11 p.m. because Noah Marcus in the chat says, according to his photos, BFG amp ended at 10:50.
Top of the pile and spiked into the floor by Tommy Ferguson.
Ferguson really getting some ups there as Slow White.
I feel like every
all the
first
way
goal
down
has
the field,
been
and that's been the story of
a big
the
play.
game so far.
Kind of hype.
Also in their quarter
Or reverse hype, like Brute
upset
Squads.
Seattle mixtape, the reigning U.S.
Deflating.
champions, to earn their place into this semifinal. Slow White just really
Little-
finding their rhythm
little
so far
dunkish.
in the tournament.
A mixed division, one of the more
No, that-
evenly matched.
You get to call that a sky. You go over somebody like that.
Some jersey trades happening with Crash, I believe, out of Canada.
It's kind of funny to me. I
But
feel like Wildcard and Slow White
there is only
play at
one
every
berth
single tournament that
left
they are
into
both
the
at.
finals.
So an opportunity to play
What did Wildcard miss Nationals this year too?
tomorrow.
I think they did, right?
The title of World Ultimate Club Champion
Yes.
and an era
I believe it's
Yeah,
the year
first-
Metro North
indication of perhaps they'll slip
won,
on the turf out here.
took a bid, and then
Myers went to
these
ground,
teams, I think,
losing
played
footing.
in the game to go.
Slow White.
That was a crazy regionals. Didn't there was like a regionals level team that Grand Army, didn't they beat Slow White or something like that? It was Northeast
Yes.
regionals was weird.
That is what happened.
And that's how they ended up playing each other in like too early or something like that.
With a mountain to climb.
Correct.
And Wildcard not doing themselves any favors by turning it over within half field of Slow White's end zone.
Definitely not doing themselves
When
any
you have
favors.
really talented D-line converters. I mean, you see
It's
that
brutal. You
Riot
come out, you're
was just
down,
cutting to
5,
the exact right place. She knew.
and you just give up 2 straight scores. It's just like, and you know you just don't have time now.
Even get back on even terms with Slow
Yeah,
White.
it's probably hard to focus
And Slow
at this
White
point.
has their coach Marshall Goff, who just arrived. He had
Marshall Goff, I believe, is in the chat.
In the chat.
Eliminated, he would go play Grandmasters in Aurora, Illinois, 6 hours away.
Yeah, Wildcard also lost a game in the bracket at regionals that knocked them down into the lower brackets.
So I play a big part in our opening show game against the young Dutch team Groot.
If you're Slow White, Charlie, at what point do you have to give up on the dwarf nicknames?
Cross to the far side.
I feel like they've
Some
just
of them are pretty loose these
I mean,
days.
you've committed to it as a bit, so I think you got to keep it going.
Sliding.
It's a finite resource, though, right? Like it is not infinite.
What
it?
is the worst like dwarf nickname that they have?
And with this being a
Yes, Marshall. What is the worst dwarf nickname?
takes more and more time off of the clock, which could be a detriment to Wildcard.
We have seen all of the calls in these shortened games resolved very, very quickly indeed. Quick movement.
Nice little move there,
Downfield,
little handler
close into
motion.
space, using the lack of wind
Very-
to perfection.
Very good stuff there. If you're a young player, go
Doing
back,
what he
watch that
did
sequence
oh so
again.
effectively against the Dutch
And
side.
the handlers can do so
Runs it
much to
front of the
score your
end zone,
goals.
cuts across and into the back, picked
How
up
do you run
perfectly.
your end zone sets,
Wild
Keith?
card with a solid point.
all about attacking the front cone and dump and swing. Not as much give and go, but if I were coaching a team with a lot more experience, I would probably institute a lot more of that into my offense. I mean, you're talking about Robin Meyer and I think Ian Engler, who are
Show game myself,
probably the two preeminent handlers on this wildcard team.
Back tomorrow for the mixed final. 3 games here. All the finals will also be played.
What would be our dwarf nicknames? Caitlin Harris asks in the chat.
Sports Hall.
You can't give them to yourself, right? You got to
Yeah.
give them to somebody else.
Chat, you got to give us the nicknames. What would our dwarf nicknames be?
Forecast for tomorrow.
I mean, yours is just Charlie, right?
That's horrible. Just delete yourself. I'm gonna ban you from the stream right now.
Slow White getting their way to halfway. Some confident offense. Not going to take any risky shots. But they
You definitely can't give yourself your own dwarf name. I'm like pretty positive that's got to be a rule.
To get back within 4.
Wild card needs.
All right, a little chance here for card.
No time to waste. Ledley down the line.
Judy Ledley was on this team. I don't think for very long.
What a throw!
That was sick.
Came across, but the disc was perfect.
And wild card converting to get the break when it was crucially necessary.
I remember Wildcard played the opening showcase game at this tournament against Riot, right?
That's
Everybody's who was kind of the underdog, exciting young team internationally, who people were hoping could take down the U.S. teams. Obviously, that didn't pan out, but
nice effort from the slow defense.
That's a tough position to be in as like the hype team from Europe, and you got to come out and you got to play like in front of a massive crowd against a experienced.
And 3 of your best
USA
players
team.
are like 17 or whatever.
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard. I hope they stay together though and like make another run at it in 2022.
This game 12 hours ago, wind. There's no wind here, so hammers and scoobers and blades can kind of do what you want, but you do have a ceiling.
I hope Floor Kalertz comes to play in the U.S. for a year or two. That's what I hope.
I'd be hype.
Get a lot more footage of you then.
A lot of teams came in and immediately their pullers started practicing to test the height.
Marshall Goff in the chat says there was a roast beefy who got misprinted and played played a whole season as host beefy.
Host beefy is better because it's funny, but roast beefy is pretty bad. Who's that guy? Get him out of here.
Someone has given you the nickname Picky.
I can see it.
It's fair.
Is there some candy-related thing, like sweetie or something?
For those that don't know, Keith is one of the pickiest eaters that I know. Oh, this is the classic Tanner Johnson. The classic Tanner Johnson right there.
Where was this born? The Tanner Johnson stare into the abyss.
Into the camera abyss. Specifically
Just
into the camera.
the void. But he does it with these empty eyes. This is a great move. Oh, man. Tanner with a little hezzy. Gets his defender's back pointed at him. Kind of stutters like he's going to change direction. Defender stops. He keeps going. It's beautiful.
Movement out to the far side. Casey Turp running and coming back now. Johnson. Kyle Johnson for wild card. Slip on the field, the turf.
Tanner Johnson's in the chat and says that it was all Jeff Smith's creation from a dice roll. So maybe they had a little like
spreading the play, hard bidding required. Quick jab into the end zone.
Nice little score there from Wildcard. Roll the dice and then do the celebration that the dice say.
And Wildcard has their offensive system, and when they execute their offensive system well, they have positive results. Exhibit A is the point that we just.
I'm laughing at Caitlin Ayers. Root still has time. They're all like 12.
No, it's true. Like they probably have 2 more cycles if they stay together.
Take care of it in their system, and now the clock is really working against them.
Yeah, there's one thing Wildcard need, and that's blocks.
I did not know this story that Tanner lost the dice roll and had to do this stare for a whole year, and that's why we saw so much. I really just thought Tanner was just really leaning into it.
The dice game is a good one.
Now 11:20 or so, wanting to see some great ultimate at any hour of
I
the
usually
day
do. If
or
you roll
night.
double sixes, then you get to make the other person do whatever dare it is. But if you roll double ones, then you have to do whatever you tried to get the other person to do.
Slow White's offense.
This is reminding me of when Ian Toner tried to explain odds to Evan Lepler for like
I was just going to
5
say, yeah,
minutes
this
on
reminds
the
me of
air on
odds.
ESPN.
Caught it in stride. Collision between
That must have gone well.
players.
Oh my God, it was so
Totally
funny.
accidental.
Yeah, it looked like Catherine Sullivan and Caitlin Go got into a bit of contact.
Was the schedule decided just in the order that the games were going to be anyway? Like, is that how mixed ended up last?
I'm guessing they
No,
did it
because
based on the
the games were all
schedule.
at the same time originally.
I'm guessing they did it based on the schedule for the next day. So the men's game was going to be first, so they had the men's semis first. That's my guess. Nice throw.
All the way down there, John Rahill is running it in, and they're going to want to get the disc downfield again. Put their defense back out.
They had time. Like, there's enough time for them to come back. They just
That elusive break
basically have to
was
play
possible for wild card
in well.
with that poach earlier.
No room for error, really, at this
How
point.
about that closing speed from Rahill?
I mean,
once
I
the
would
puck
say
went up?
this
He was running out
whole
of boundary line in the
20-minute
end
deal
zone, but really
shows you
well
how good the whiff diff cap rule, the normal cap
run
rule is.
right onto it.
That a team has to score to win the game.
That awareness near the front cone.
Because, like, the idea that you can kind of run the clock out is not compelling if you don't have normal clock rules like some of the semi-professional leagues. And I'm glad that USA Ultimate is moving towards the same thing, where basically you're going to ask teams to have to score to win the game.
I feel like this was one of the big questions originally about semi-pro Ultimate would Ultimate be better or worse on a clock? Now we've had plenty of years to get a good sample size. But what do you think? Is Ultimate better just as a timed sport?
Sorry, just really quick. That's a brutal drop. Just brutal.
Oh yeah, if you have no margin for error,
If you score there, you got a shot. All right, so are you asking for my opinion on clock versus?
Is Ultimate better on a game clock than it is
Well,
playing
my
to a
coach
score?
earlier before the game said they have to play like there's no clock running. Just play Ultimate so you don't get in your own head.
I really like the hybrid format of like.
Tanner Johnson.
Yeah, sure. Play to 15, but then at some point we put a +1 cap on, but you have to score to win. Like that really works.
Smith into the end zone and taken out of the sky.
Maybe we should just redo this format. Like, the first half is to a score and the second half is to a time. Maybe this.
And you have
this
to have
world's-
it. You have to move everything from outdoors to indoors as well.
Yeah. No, that part's crazy. Come on, Charlie. We're being serious here.
All right.
I mean, absolutely brutal. This could have been a 2-point game, but just a point-blank drop on an under and slow scores, and that's basically the game.
Sympathy jump right there. I mean, if you're gonna sell the guy by throwing the floater when you probably could have just set your feet and thrown a real throw, got a sympathy jump. But you're right. I mean, that was the backbreaker, and maybe even worse than giving up the score that took a long time. It was almost 2 minutes, or over 2 minutes.
And they're
That's
like,
what
let's
they need,
go.
though. It's quick scores.
Let's go.
That's
Let's
what you
get a
want.
pull. Let's get a pull.
No time for spiking it. Just literally try and set up the next point.
12-9 the score.
Nah, it doesn't
every
look like they're
team-
gonna rush.
Every team in an Ultimate game should get like one, let's call it a wild card, where it just forces the other team to have to be ready on the line in like 30 seconds instead of the standard 90, so that you can like force the issue.
The grass is so short. It's very fast.
Well, we had a little.
I like messing around with that kind of stuff in practice, honestly. Like instituting very weird rules to just force people to adapt to new situations.
That's right. And so we did have a quick throw around, and running on this surface like having a superpower. It just fly.
I'm a big fan of having scrimmages with non-traditional rules or wrinkles thrown in, extra points for certain activities or whatever.
When players are coming from the very, very high speed, some of these athletes reach, trying to slow down after they've caught the disc. I think everybody's been a little bit more tolerant of not calling travels as players are taking sometimes 4 or 5 paces to come to a halt. Oh, and that disc goes underneath.
All right, another chance for wild card.
Defense to set, and they quickly do, deep in their own end zone. But
you can't.
We've got a lot of
slow
slow white
situation.
A lot of slow white in the chat. We will take other nominees for worst dwarf team. Beating roast beefy is going to probably be hard, but if you got something better, let me know.
The women's final, the mixed final, at 4:30 p.m. All the World Ultimate Club Championship final games tomorrow.
If Ultimate ever gets really huge, they're gonna have to like put a plaque at this wall-to-wall soccer complex
They need to take this one, they do.
as a memoriam for this tournament.
Or we buy it and it becomes like an actual like annual venue.
They're going to send it back to contest. Not going to spend too long.
Lebanon, Ohio.
It's going to go back to the previous pass. So Maxwell Rick.
What do we think here, Keith? Who had it first? Oh, pretty obvious.
I mean, clearly.
Pretty obvious.
Clearly so what, right?
That's a really, really bad send it back.
Okay, in defense of the other player, I think it's way harder to tell in real time. Because all you know is I caught it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if the other person doesn't have their hand on it anymore, like, how are you really going to know when they had their hand on it?
Sorry, I got a little bit too excited for myself there. Thought that Wildcard could get back in this one. I don't think they can.
I always enjoy a scenario that leads to a more exciting game as a fan of sports in general, but Wildcard needing to get more points on the board earlier in the start of this time cap.
So Wildcard maybe gets to play it out. Nope. I'm seeing hands.
Coach doesn't want to play it out.
We're not doing this.
So, a Wildcard and Slow White.
And that's it.
Conceding the game. There, they run out of time.
So the Boston battle goes to Slow White, as it has many times.
And finishes off every team that was leading at half won their game in semifinals. No comebacks. Double wide, very close, but
okay, here's a question. If any of the games had been 30 minutes instead of 20, would there have been a different outcome?
It's going to be a great
team, college nationals, and both of them.
Double wide's the only team that really felt like they could have turned their game around, right?
Probably.
Maybe if GOAT had discovered defense, because they were scoring like bang bang.
A rich vein of form coming into this World Championships, coming together.
Yeah, I don't know.
They were in a pretty deep hole. I mean, I think if you give Double Wide more time,
they probably win, right? They had the.
I don't know about probably. They're still at like win probability below 50, right? Like, I mean, they have a worse win probability in that situation, but they also have Kirk Gibson.
That is true. So there you go.
What a crazy night this was. It is unfortunate that we had this weird break in it, and then, you know, the mixed games had kind of large leads, and so the crowd that thinned out. So it's kind of anticlimactic, but it was truly, like, I think a night that anybody who was there will never forget as far as Ultimate goes.
Unforgettable. I mean, up there with any of the big semifinals days at college nationals or club nationals. I mean, this was just super crazy. And like the thing is, everybody thought that the day was done, and then like 2 hours later we were playing semis with, you know, almost 1,000 people packed along a sideline like 5 layers deep. So it was just a surreal kind of thing, and like for it to be for like a really high stakes world championship, that's, I mean, it made it even more exciting.
I wonder if they talk about this at wall to wall, you know, Like, hey, you guys remember when that random frisbee tournament happened and they interrupted our soccer league?
Oh man, I mean, it has to, right? Like, it's got to be such a weird thing. But you know, shout out to those guys for saying yes and like, we'll let you do this, because they could have just said no way. What are you talking about? I wonder how big was the check that WFDF wrote to them. Like, they went in the back room and they were like, listen, we got a blank check for you. Tell me how much it's going to cost.
I don't know. I mean, how much would it take you? You know, what's the magic number?
I mean, they didn't have much else going on besides that 1 hour scheduled soccer game, so anything's better than nothing. But it's probably a couple $1,000, right? 10 grand maybe?
At least a few discs. I think you gotta lowball them first to be like, we'll give you 10 discs.
Yeah.
We'll give you Maxwell Rick noted wildcard tied for 3rd in the world and 4th in the Northeast.
That's right.
It's a good one.
It is a good one. All right. Well, it's been a long send it back here, so I think we'll save our Q&A for another time. Of course, you can always reach me and Keith on Twitter or at DeepLookPod on Twitter, or you can email us at deeplook@ultiworld.com. So, Keith, this was great. We got to do another one sometime.
Yeah, what are we doing for the subscriber section? What are we for the subscriber lounge?
We'll have to figure that out for tomorrow's podcast.
Oh, yeah, podcast, that's right. Hopefully we'll see you guys there for the podcast. Download wherever you get your podcasts. Yeah.
That's right. All right, well, that's going to do it for this edition of Send It Back. Well, we're going to start. We took a little break there, but we're going to start doing these again. So feel free to get in touch if there's a game that you want to see, or if you want to commentate one of these games, you can hit me up, charlie@ultiworld.com. And we're going to start trying to do these every week again. So
full Send It Back.
Full Send It Back. Green phase Send It Back. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.
Every time we press the button, we play better.
An Ultiworld subscription gets you closer to the players and personalities you care about with game video, in-depth written and video analysis.
He's going to take off deep, but what he does is very simple.
Documentary shorts.
And we've played Brute Squad before, and it just feels a little bit harder to lose this year.
And a whole lot more. To get your subscription or learn more, go to ultiworld.com/subscribe.